back. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments in a case challenging the Biden administration's student debt relief plan.
Yeah, the high court said oral arguments for February, and the program will remain on hold until that case is heard.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos joins us now to discuss this. Danny, good morning to you. So first of all, walk us through the arguments we expect each side to make. What are the odds that the Biden administration can get this block taken away?
Anyone who's been following this who isn't confused doesn't know what's going on because it is procedurally complicated. But at this stage in litigation, everything can be boiled down to really two things. Number one, standing, and number two, the status quo. Because none of these courts have reached the merits yet. All of this battling is over what to do while the court, whether it be the Supreme Court or any court, decides this case finally on the merits. First, you have standing. Do these states even have any interest in this outcome to be involved in the litigation? Standing asks the question, whose beeswax is it anyway? And if it's not your beeswax, then you can't be in court suing about it. Secondly, the government, the Biden administration, is seeking to preserve the status quo with what's called injunctive relief. And courts say, well, look, if there's some emergency, if some awful harm will happen, if we don't pause the parties from doing something, we will issue an injunction. Here, both courts, at least so far in the proceedings, have decided that, well, it's probably better to preserve the status quo of what everyone has dealt with, which was paying back their loans or whatever the case may be for the last time immemorial, rather than allow the Biden administration's plan to go through, which would be a major change. So many different courts weighing in. That's the best way to boil it down, I think.
Beeswax, a legal term, right?
Beeswax is a Latin term, yes. We use it frequently in the law.
All right, good.
Of course, I thought so. And we also know this is not the only setback, though. A judge in Texas has also moved to block this, and a federal judge has decided not to stop that from going through. How does that affect this whole program?
Yeah, if you're keeping score, the Biden administration won in Missouri, then lost at the 8th Circuit. The Biden administration lost in Texas and then lost again at the 5th Circuit. At least by that count, Biden administration is 1-3. At least in their legal challenges. But the great thing about issues of law and appeal is that they're essentially reviewed de novo. The higher up they go, once they get to the Supreme Court, these cases all have a second chance at life. And the Biden administration is going to argue that the lower courts at least got it wrong in issuing injunctions. And on the merits, the Biden administration is going to argue that this was within the executive branch's power to do. By the way, all of this argument would be obviated if Congress had acted. The only reason we're in court is because there's an argument that the Biden administration exceeded its authority in the executive branch.
Let's ask the question that people who are repaying their loans are most interested in. There was a pause on when they have to repay until June. So when the Supreme Court hears this, when might we expect to have their decision? Would it be around June?
Oh, how often do we get asked, when will a court do something? And all I can say is, as a general rule of thumb, we don't know. Yep. But part two is, if it's super high profile, expect a little special treatment. If you're a run-of-the-mill litigant before the Supreme Court, get in line and good luck.
All right, Danny Cevallos, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.